Welcome everyone, hi there!
I'm Fanny, this is KANBAN EV, so let's rule this board.
I've already made a video for an easy setup. If that's what you need,
Feel free to watch it now or after this video, because what we are doing here and now is get you playing by looking at the rules. I'll keep this as concise as possible, and I've restructured the rulebook a bit for you to make it easier to follow and connect the dots, and also to make it easier to remember some of these key points during gameplay. That's what I hope.
in KANBAN EV, you're placing your one and only worker to work in an electric car factory. Each round represents a working day, and you will use your shifts to work in one of 5 different departments, while keeping a close eye on your co-workers.
You'll also receive job trainings, attend meetings, and from time to time you will be evaluated by your boss Sandra.
You'll collect points all through the game, and the last round is triggered by 2 markers, the cycle marker and the week marker.
And the exact moment depends on gameplay. Once the sum of the 2 markers is 5, so one is at least at 2 and the other is at 3, it's the last round.
This means it's your last working day, and at the end of the round, after a possible meeting or end of week scoring, or even both, you'll receive additional points for
the final goal tile. This tile is on the board right from the start, so you can prepare the entire game for scoring it. Any goal met, you can score by placing 1 speech token from your player board, and this can be done by all the players. You'll receive 1 point for each banked shift, speech token, book and voucher you still have. You'll receive points for your position on the trainings tracks, and here pay attention because the 5 points go to the player on top, and if you didn't have any training, you won't receive any points. You'll score points for the cars in your garage, depending on the type, just as your tested designs, which score the points of the value of the depicted car parts. And with these final scoring options already in mind, let's have a quick look on how the rounds work. Each round, which represents a working day in our factory, consists of 2 phases. In the first one, the department selection phase, you're going to place your one and only worker
on one of 10 different workstations in the 5 departments. In the first round, for your very first day in the factory, who places their worker first will be decided in the order of the certification track that we saw during setup. Starting from the second round, you'll simply move your workers in order from top to bottom.
But you always have to go to a department where you didn't work this very day. So this player can just go here. Starting on the second day and for the second round, Sandra, your boss, will also take part in this and block spaces, and for this she will always scan from the top, so she would go right here for her first day
and in the next round be the first to be moved for the new day, and she would go here.
If ever there isn't any space she can be placed in, she just skips the department. And just note that in a 2-player game, no player can place themselves in the department where Sandra already is. In the second phase, the work phase, players are now going to take shifts in the departments they chose from top to bottom. Depending on the placement you chose, you have 2 or 3 shifts, and that's to be seen like action points you can use. Those shifts you have can always be completed by banked shifts, but note that you can never work more than 4 shifts per day. Every player who played already should lay their worker down so you can always see who needs to go to a new department for a new day.
And before we're going to dive into what exactly you can do in these 5 departments, I want to talk about some core concepts of KANBAN EV because they affect all the rest. And I think it's good to already have them in mind when learning about the departments.
During gameplay, there will be 2 different recurring events that can gain you massive points. The meetings and the end of week scorings. A meeting happens whenever the pace car moves to one of these two striped fields, as we will see when talking about this department. You then place the meeting marker here, and at the end of the round you will have a meeting.
To score in a meeting can be perfectly prepared, because the 4 performance goals for the next meeting will be up as soon as one meeting ends.
During a meeting, the players take turns in order of the certification track, and they always have 2 options: to speak or to pass. When speaking, you're going to place one of your speech tokens from your player board on the multipliers of the performance goals. So placing it here means that you can score 2 blue cars from your garage at 4 points each. And just keep in mind that actually you have the right to brag a bit about your goals, so even if you have just 1 car, you could still place it on the higher points so no one else can take it. Once per meeting, you'll also have to place one of the secret performance goal cards from your hand. In this case, just place it nearby, and if you decide to speak during this turn, you have to place your speech token on your own card, so yes, of course, definitely you want to be prepared. And please note, as long as you haven't placed your performance card, you can't even pass in the meeting. And about passing, note also that anyone who has passed on a certain topic can still come back for a different one, so the meeting only ends when all the players have passed in a row. The meeting room is then cleared and the speech tokens go back to the players to be placed next to their player board.
And if ever you still have a generic speech token, transform it right away.
You then place one secret goal from your hand, and if you're less than 4 players, this is completed from the deck before you flip them over. Everyone takes 2 new cards from the deck to their hand, and you then return the meeting marker to the test track. And by advancing the cycle marker now, the end of the game approaches. The second recurring event that can gain you a lot of points if you prepare it well is the end of week scoring. It takes place whenever Sandra moves back to her desk after having spent the week in the departments, because this is the predefined task she'll do in administration.
At the end of these rounds, you gain points for cars in your garage that had upgrades made to their model.
So in this example, every blue car would gain 3 points, every gray one 1. But you can gain even more points if you have tested designs for a car, and we will see how to do them when talking about the departments, because they add 1 point each to a certain color, so a blue car wouldn't gain 3 points anymore, but 5, and that even applies to every car in your garage.
And at the end of this scoring, you then advance the week marker.
So enter week scorings and meetings are really important to gain points, so you always want to prepare them well. The next important concept to look into are the training tracks, because they work the same for all the departments. Wherever you are, instead of working in the department, you can also decide to spend your shifts on training. For every shift you spend, you can move your marker forward, and once you cross to the white space, you're considered to be certified, which gives you an advantage on your player board.
For each time you do this, you will also move forward on the certification track, and here in each section you can choose your benefit and placement freely. But remember, in the meetings, the speaking order will depend on this track. And if ever there's a factory goal in your area, and if there are still speech tokens, discard one and move one of your own speech tokens to your player board.
If you still move on and become an expert, you can take the white speech token when you're the first, and then choose one of the bonuses. Take it and discard the tile, and the rest goes back to the board. And note that at any given moment during your turn, you can also spend books from your player board to advance on these tracks without spending shifts.
But apart from all these benefits and the option to gain points at the end of the game, there's another good reason to consider training, and that's Sandra.
As we have seen, each day, Sandra, your boss, is going to move to one of the departments. There she's not only doing some predefined jobs to make things move a bit, but she will also evaluate the players. For each department she has certain expectations, and if you don't meet them,
you'll be punished. The important thing to know, though, is that for her evaluation, she's going to look at the training tracks, and she will only evaluate the last player. If there is one player, it's only them. If there are two, the two will be evaluated. As you often know where Sandra will go next, you should prepare for this by either meeting her expectations or just making sure to not be last. If you fail, you lose 1 point for this, plus, and here be careful, 1 additional point for every banked shift you're under 5. And just note that there is also a less stressful version of Sandra, as we've seen during setup, and in this case she will look at the first players on the training tracks, and you will gain points for each banked shift over 5. And one last simple but very helpful fact to always keep in mind is that whenever you need a certain car part for what you're going to do in the departments, you can go to recycling or use one of your vouchers. For the recycling, there always have to be 3 different parts on the board, so you couldn't exchange these 2, but this one, and now you can take the red one. The vouchers are even easier to use. As long as you have them on your board, you can exchange them against any part from the supply and then spend them directly. Just pay attention that any benefit gained from one of the many spots on the board can be used in the same turn and will only move to your player board at the end of your turn. Only the white speech tokens can be transformed directly.
And with this, we're finally ready to learn how to work in these 5 departments, and we will do so in the logical workflow of our factory, because the design department and logistics will give you stuff that you can then use for assembly or research. When you work in the design department, for any shift span, you can choose one of these 8 designs and place it on your player board. If you take one of these 4, you gain the benefit. Once you're certified, you can also take from these stacks. Any empty spaces are only refilled after your turn from the left. The designs now on your player board will help you claim and upgrade cars in the research department. In the logistics department, you can refill the warehouses or take car parts to your player board. For the first action, play one of the 2 order cards from your hand and turn and slide it to fit best, because you're now going to fill the warehouses up according to the matching symbols.
Then return the card to the bottom of the deck and take a new one into your hand. And don't forget, you will also gain a bank shift when taking this action.
With the second possible action, you can take parts from any warehouse as long as you can place them on your board, otherwise just leave the rest. As soon as you're certified, you can also take a voucher once per round. With the car parts from your player board, you can build cars in the assembly department.
Unless a car color has had upgrades made to its model, because in this case you would have to place these car parts first.
Just place any part anywhere, just make sure that there isn't already an identical one, and then move the car forward. If this moved one of the cars out of the line, you gain the points depending on which way it took, and you then move it to the test track. Here, just be aware that behind the pace car there can always only be 4 cars, so in the case of the arrival of a 5th car, just remove the first one and close the gap. Just be aware of 2 more things. You move and replace a new car every time you place a car part, not only when the line is full, and when you move a car out of the line that corresponds to one of the demand tiles, you can take the speech token. If ever this is the last speech token, like it would be in the case of a black car, you shuffle this tile back in the pile and take a new one. And just one last heads up for certification in this department, because I think this could be misunderstood. For the extra garage and the placement of a car, you're not going to take 4 benefits, but choose 2. The research department is maybe the most complicated to understand, and here you have also the factory goals to check at the end of your turn to see if you can gain one of the generic speech tokens for this many cars in your garage or this many upgraded design tiles, and then you have two different things to do. The first one is to claim one of the cars on the track to put on your player board. For this, you take a design tile of the same color from your player board, discard it to the central stack, and then take the car into one of your garages to claim the bonus. Claiming this car from the 4th position would cost 3 shifts nevertheless. And remember that in any day you can never work more than 4 shifts, even when paying with bank shift. The other option you have to work in this department is doing an upgrade on one of the car models by using a car part from your player board. For this you need the corresponding car and car part. Place the car part anywhere to gain the bonus. Move the corresponding value marker 1 space forward and then put the design tile flipped over to the side of your player board. This will gain you 2 points directly. And never forget that once you have an upgraded tile and then claim a corresponding car or already have it, you can move this tile directly here and it will score extra points during the end of week scoring. Once you're certified in this department, you've unlocked this double upgrade tile, which you can now use as a one-time benefit to double upgrade a certain car part. So for the example we just had, you could also have decided to double upgrade this part to move it 2 spaces, flip it over, because it only can be done once, and then you'd also score 4 points. And at the end of your turn in this department, there's just some little upkeep you shouldn't forget, because at the end you're advancing the pace car. As many fields as you claimed cars, so if it's 1, it's 1, if it's 2, it's 2, you fill the gaps. And if ever you arrive at a striped field, don't advance the cycle marker yet, but take the meeting marker to the meeting room. And last but not least, there is the administration. And this is, you could say, a bit the joker placement of our factory, because you have less shifts, only 1 or 2, but Sandra will never take any of these spots, and apart from doing your training in this department, you can micromanage for 1 shift all the others. So at any moment where you really have to work in a certain department and all the workstations are already taken by the other players, you can always go here. And with this, you know all you need to start playing Kanban EV. So enjoy your game or discover the setup. Thanks for watching.